So hi everyone, welcome to our January QualiWare Users Group meeting, first one of the new year. My name is Cecile and I'd like to welcome you all. I am going to go through our agenda and we'll do some housekeeping. For the agenda for today's meeting, I'm going to turn things over to Kevin in a few minutes, who will give us some updates on some of the things going on at CloseReach and some things that impact our clients in a moment. We have Kirill with us today. He's going to do a QualiWare tooltip for us on spreadsheets. Viorel has also from CloseReach is going to talk to us a little bit about Power BI and QualiWare. And then we have a demonstration of our compliance management accelerator, I believe with Kevin instead of Jerry. Is that correct, Kevin?
That's right. I'll be doing it for Jerry.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so let me hand this over to you, Kevin, and you can get us started with CloseReach news.
Okay. So Jacob and Kuno are still on track with plans to visit Ottawa in early March. We do not have dates for that as yet, but wanted to make you aware of that. We'll be looking into setting up whatever meeting arrangements we can, perhaps in our office or at specific departments. So we'll let you know more about that as we get into February. So we'll try to have all that firmed up by the end of February meeting to give you an update there. So if there are topics that you're interested in chatting about at those meetings, you can forward that information to myself or Cecile. 10.8.1 was released, and we've completed our testing. So it is available through the download site that we have. We found, I guess, identified three defects that we've reported through to QualiWare, and our test results will be sent to primary, secondary, and technical contacts this week, so that you'll have our information. There is one feature that we've identified that was removed from this version, and that's the import from image capability. So that was present in previous versions of QualiWare, but we've identified that it's no longer available in 10.8.1. I think there were some issues with how that function worked, but I don't have any reports of people actually using it either, so probably very little impact there. If you encounter things as you install 10.8.1 in your own environments, please report those through our new support portal, which primary, secondary, and technical contacts have access to that portal. So route any issues that you've identified through there, and we will make sure that they're reported through to QualiWare. We'll confirm those things and then report them through to QualiWare. Our training calendar has been updated for Q1 of 2023, so please take a look at that. We're still, in February, I believe we got a governance workflow engine and a publishing course on the books for running this month. So if you've got people interested in taking those courses, please hit our Shopify site and get them registered. Or contact the rep, who's dealing with your department. We're going through our training materials and doing general upgrades across the board in there. Cecile, fill me in on Roger Burleton's status of Roger Burleton's course.
Yep, we've postponed the course that was scheduled to start this month. And we're going to be trying to get that scheduled for the next quarter, first quarter of the new fiscal year.
So we're a few attendees short of being able to run that. So if there is some interest in that business architecture course, please let us know. Next, Aribatech, QualiSoft archiving tool. So we're in the process of setting up a SALSA, software license supply arrangement, for Aribatech, which is QualiSoft's new name. They were acquired by Aribatech, another company located in Norway. Anyhow, we see some value in that they have an archiving tool which allows you to take a point-in-time picture of your entire repository. And so it will allow you then to, if you don't have access to an online networked environment, to have access to the content in that repository, the same way static publishing used to work in the past. And so we see some value in being able to offer that to some of our customers. So there's more to follow on that. We have a single page description of that tool. We're working out pricing right now. And also at present, their tool, it would only be accessible from those who have an enterprise collaboration license. But we are working with them to try to change that availability. Protected B, cloud hosting by QualiWare. So they are in the process of embedding all of the controls, hard coding in code, all of the controls associated with the PBMM type of deployment. The target date for that is end of March, early April. And so, part of what they're going to be producing is the spreadsheet associated with the PBMM standard or guidelines, how they address the various components in that spreadsheet. So we're hoping to get some information on that, as I said, late March, early April. Just a reminder, QualiWare is the only company that's invested in a GC-only Canadian environment in the EA tool space. So, that's quite an investment from their part, and we're actually working with them to further expand that footprint. On the GC QualiWare contract, I really have no progress to report since we last talked. We're still waiting for how this is going to happen, whether it'll be an ACAN, which I believe is the preferred route. But, as I say, in the past, since our last meeting, I really don't have an update on that. And we're a little concerned, frankly. We've strongly recommended another 1-year extension to the current contract. Not ideal, but everybody knows how long procurement takes, and we're only a few months from the end of May. So we would encourage you to contact Mike Dean at PSPC to express to him how that might impact you. So maintenance and support can go through the current contract even though it's ending. However, professional services and training are an issue. So, like I said, if they can get everything done in time, I mean, we're the end of January now, right? End of May is close from a procurement perspective. So if our lovely customers here can exert any kind of leverage on PSPC, that would be helpful. That's really all I have in this area right now.
Okay.
In terms of news. Yep.
Okay, marvelous. Thank you very much, Kevin. Anybody has any questions out some of the
Actually, I
things
do have one other.
You do?
Yes.
Okay.
We'd like to welcome Tamara to our team. Her first day was today. And she's going to be working with Cecile on contract management and client relationships. So she's a new member of our customer success team, and so don't give her too hard a time when you talk to her. She's brand new. Don't break her.
Don't break her. There we are.
Thanks, Kevin. Excited to be part of the team.
Thanks, Tamara. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for remembering. I forgot. That's terrible. I feel bad now. Sorry about that. Okay, thank you very much. We are going to move on, I believe, to Kirill. Kirill, I believe.
All right.
It's your turn.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to stop. I will stop sharing.
All right, great. So we keep finding new ways to use Spreadsheet in a nutshell. And I'm going to share with you guys a tooltip that I recently discovered regarding to the data validation and some of the new ways to use Spreadsheet. I'm going to share my screen in a second. All right, so many of you are familiar with a spreadsheet. Once again, it's the QualiWare spreadsheet that allows you to modify dynamic content. So on the left, we have applications that are currently in the repository. So we got all sorts of the applications available, and then there is some attributes and properties that those particular templates consist. So I've set up the capability, owner, and then the goals as part of this kind of a standard out-of-the-box spreadsheet. We can modify this information on the go. We can save it, format it. So a lot of good modification features. Now, what I thought is that you probably face a situation where there are certain properties and attributes not available out of the box, but you don't necessarily want to use CaseMaker in this situation. You don't want to modify the meta model. You don't want to touch the code, but you still want to have some sort of the information present in QualiWare. So there is a solution. You could use Spreadsheet to update and create static content on this particular sheet. So at the top, you see 4 questions that were simply created right by typing, with your keyboard, question 5, question 4, 1, 2, 3, and etc. So what is it really helpful with when people have any questionnaires related items, or they need to add those extra properties of questions that they do have in their, business requirements, but QualiWare cannot really offer it out of the box? This is a fantastic way to do so. Now, in this example, I've added a couple of questions. So we got, how would you rate the application 1 to 100? Does it deliver value to an end user? When did it launch? And then are there any comments available regarding to the application? So the interesting part about it is that we can go to the data. We could click the data validation, and we could input a certain function that allows us to, input the information and play with data. So in here, I actually select the number criteria. And when I'm doing the selection for how would you rate the application, I'm going to write 0 just for now as an example. So if I press 0, the system will actually give me an error saying, hey, this is not the right criteria or right settings that you input in. So please put 1 to 100. So I'm going to put 50 or 60, and the information will get filled out. Now we want to move to another one, which is the list. And again, we go to the data validation. I put the criteria as list as part of the cell. I put the values on the right here. And now we have the list. Drop down menu. Does it deliver value to an end user? Yes, fantastic. Well, the third question would be, when did it launch? So we also got a calendar available, a date function available out of the box. So I put the calendar inside of the cell, and now I can answer the question, when did it actually launch? We're going to press 5th of January. And then finally in comments, it is a free text cell where you can type whatever you want and the information will be saved. So in here you see 4 different formats, how you can input the information outside of the standard out-of-the-box properties in Spreadsheet. And you could see that in one kind of document. Again, we find it to be useful when the client has a lot of properties not available out of the box. So if you want to create a questionnaire, let's say in QualiWare, there is no template for questionnaire. So this would be the closest to the questionnaire in QualiWare that you could find. Now, this content can only be seen in the spreadsheet, but what the beauty about it, what I like, is that you could actually drag and drop every single of those cells, and this will take over not just the valued cell, but also a data validation point. So now we see we've simply updated, 10 or 12 cells with this function throughout the board. So I find that really useful, and I thought the client liked it as well, because again, it provides you more horsepower to input the data without using a QCL or a case maker. Yeah, and that's essentially what we recommend. So whenever you need to use an extra, questions, you might be having some application portfolio management questionnaire that you need to, circulate to your end users, or if there's any process management related activities that you need to fill out, use the spreadsheet and use the data validation function. I've seen it very underutilized so far. So I thought experimenting with it, and we got so far we got a pretty good feedback from the client. To find the information on the functions, you could actually go to the Center of Excellence in QualiWare. There is a lot of functions available out of the box. So a lot that in the regular Excel would be available here in the QualiWare spreadsheet. And also, I would recommend the second source, which is the Canada UI, which is actually technology behind QualiWare spreadsheet. There's a lot of cool demos with functions, with some additional documentation, and a reference material available for you to get the best from QualiWare spreadsheets. Are there any questions?
So I could use this as an interim step while I'm trying to figure out what casemaker changes I might want to make. I could implement something like this in the short term to allow me to gather the necessary information I might want and calculate whatever totals I need to off the information that's entered.
Yes, absolutely. Very good point, Kevin. Yes, you can do that, and you could also, again, you can do the calculations based on this information. So yes, if you need any statistics or any, again, calculations based on those static content, that's available as well. So
can the static content be totaled and put back into one of the existing fields?
You can do that in the existing fields on the left.
So, an existing QualiWare field, for example, I know that on information system, number of users is an attribute. And if in my questionnaires, I pull up all of those different numbers of users, of different types, for example, in a particular department or that use a particular system, I could total those from the fields on the right and deposit that in the attribute that actually is on the information system template on the left.
We are still testing this, but in theory, it is possible that the functionality is available to set the function, the cell value of F1 can equal to the cell value of D1, which would be the out-of-the-box property in QualiWare.
Okay. Or the other way around. Yeah.
Or the other way around, that's right. Yeah. Any other questions or comments?
Kirill, could you put the links to the article in the COE and the other site that you showed? Would you mind putting that in the chat in case people are interested?
Absolutely, we'll do so. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Kirill. I appreciate that. Okay. Viorel, over to you to talk to us about Power BI and QualiWare.
Hello, everyone. Yes, so we're using QualiWare to store a lot of data, and sometimes we don't have all the artifacts in QualiWare. Sometimes we would like to connect it to a different database, or we want different reports to be created from outside QualiWare, right? So one of the ways, it's a Power BI exercise, but you can replicate this with multiple links that are actually outside of QualiWare. So you can present information in QualiWare, that does not reside necessarily in QualiWare. So we've created a dashboard. This is just for demo. It was created in Power BI, but as you can see, you are able to access it from straight from QualiWare, right? And it works it has the same functionalities as Power BI has. So if you want to filter on different numbers, you can do that. And as you can see, they update. And none of this content is in QualiWare, it's outside, right? So if you have different dashboards that you are using currently, you can link them to different tiles. So you have all the information in one place, right? The way we structure usually the information is you have a desktop, and inside you have different data points, and then you can also do the analysis if you want in QualiWare. So that's why we created this. You can filter. You can create multiple tabs, multiple reports. You can also do some automations if you want with the data. I'm just clicking randomly to show you that the data gets updated whenever I click on them. And as I told you, it doesn't limit only to Power BI. It's actually everything that is web-based. So for instance, I also linked a customer satisfaction survey in Microsoft Forms. So instead of having all these links right in your browser, in your bookmark, you can actually have them all in different tiles. So you can populate this data and then submit, and it will actually work, right? So this is a neat trick. I can do it as many times as I want because that's how I set up the form. But if you want to have one-stop shop, you can actually create it with QualiWare and with this object, which is an HTML embedded content. So let me know if you have questions. We're creating a documentation on how to.
Could you show us what it looks like in QLM?
Yes, I'll have to log in QLM. Sorry. So you want the exact object, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sorry, give me a second. So this is how it looks like in Power BI. See, it's the application in Power BI, and this is how it looks like in Power BI. And then you have the form. Sorry, it's logging in. And then you have the form, and this is actually the form with the response. And as you can see, I have two responses, which I just submitted. All right, so give me a second.
So I could actually have the form attached to a tile, and I could also have the results attached to a different tile.
Yes, and this is how it's planned to be done, because here what you can do, only the person that created the survey can see the results. What you can do is you can create a tile and put it under a different role, right? So give access to that tile only to a specific role, which corresponds to the person that actually created the survey. So all your employees can have this form, but only one person can see the responses and export them afterwards, right? You can open them in Excel, view the results, and things like that. Right. So it loaded. So the object that I was using. So now Power BI and Microsoft Forms, they work a bit differently, and you will see different links. How to obtain this is pretty easy. You can create an HTML embedded content. And if I go to my object, you will see that here I have a link. This is a hyperlink, and it's external. So what it does, it actually creates a view of that specific object inside QualiWare. and this is Power BI. And then I also have the Microsoft Forms. Again, is the same logic. The only difference is the way this link is being generated, because it does not necessarily use a simple HTML hyperlink. It actually uses an embed or an iframe element. So you obtain that in different ways. You can see here my Microsoft Office I used Sway to generate that link, but Power BI by default in Power BI, you can actually generate the embed code, right? So for Power BI, for instance, you can go to File, Embed Report, and then you have this link, and that's how it's being generated.
Great feature.
All right. Now, what we're looking for, the next step would be, let's see how it's ideal to connect, because Power BI is a very powerful tool, and ideally you would like to connect multiple data sources to one dashboard and filter and have data from different systems in one place, right? Without necessarily duplicating your data or things like that. So we're looking on how to connect at an ideal connection to QualiWare so we can extract the data in this way. This should not necessarily replace the reports in QualiWare because those have their purpose, but as a BI tool, with this BI tool, you can actually connect to external sources, and that's the advantage. But if you need plain reports from QualiWare, I think the reports, built-in reports, will work great.
So I could see a use for this in the APM world where your service management tool is collecting ticket information by different applications. And so you could have a link, an embedded link that pulls that information for a particular application or group of applications and displays it along with your application landscape in QualiWare. So yes. Then you have your architecture through that application landscape, and you've got real-time background information on what's actually happening from a ticket or a support perspective.
Yes. And the advantage with Power BI is also that you can have live data if you set it up like that. So if you make an update in another system, you will see the data.
But I think ServiceNow and Remedy and some of the web-based service management tools would definitely be able to generate the same kind of link, which would save perhaps using an API or doing an export and then import into QualiWare. So you could use some of the native capabilities of those other tools through this embedded link.
Yes, you can take the data, you can create GTIs, you can create a lot of things. You're right.
We're going to continue our exploration of this. So as we learn more, and we're really just getting started on this. The embedded link here is one way that that this can be handled directly, and the other is, we've been in discussions with Qualisoft about actually using an iframe to present the information rather than directly off one of the tiles. So we'll produce some documentation as we dig more into this, but thought it was worth showing some of the departments that might be using some of these other tools. Perhaps content that's in Tableau or other kinds of tool sets, even SharePoint dashboards.
Yeah, as long as the system allows to create an embed link, yes, you can actually put it in here. So instead of going to multiple systems, you can just navigate through one and have everything there.
Derek, did you have a question? I don't know if I'm out of sync with your comment there in the chat. I'm not sure if you had a question.
Yeah, this is really nice. I love seeing this. I was wondering if you tried the other way around, actually using some QualiWare data you may have in there to create a Power BI dashboard.
That's the next step, and what we're investigating now is what is the safest and best connection to the QualiWare database, because you can connect through an API or straight to the SQL database, and that's what we're looking. That would be the next step.
Cool.
Right.
Looking forward to seeing it.
Right. Ideally, what you want is to have outside data that you can link to QualiWare data to generate reports if you want to link them, in case you don't want to import something in QualiWare, or it cannot reside in QualiWare.
So we see the big value on this with our collaborative business planning tool that that we're reselling. It's being used right now by part of the SDC, the passport offices. It's being used by veterans and a couple of other, we've got a project underway at PSPC. So again, if we can pull content from those other, well, as we build CBP models, you know, the heavy data analysis side of that is pushed out to Power BI. But being able to actually pull that back into QualiWare, you know, so you're building the CBP models in QualiWare, Power BI is picking that information up, you know, and you've predefined those dashboards, and then you can display it for the end user community in QualiWare again, without them having to use Power BI as a user. We see that as quite valuable. So that's kind of part of what's driving our investigation into this is the you know, the use of CBP for you know, for true digital twin development and for analysis of key departmental initiatives, you know, like Passport, you know, dealing with their backlogs, Veterans Affairs, the same thing, you know, with their claims processes and backlogs. So if we can make it easier for a collaboration user to just come into QualiWare and, you know, you can see the models that were used to build it, and here's the dashboards, and you can play what if in the Power BI dashboard without actually having to be in Power BI. We see that as a real advantage.
Yeah, and specifically for CBP, it helps a lot with the simulation of different scenarios, right? Because yeah, as you import the data, you can see the dashboard change, and maybe you don't like some numbers, and you can change them back again, and based on the result, you can decide what's the best data that you need.
Anyhow.
So Derek, you mentioned that you were interested in it. How would you see using this at ESDC in your area? Do you have something specific in mind, or future possibilities, or not to put you on the spot or anything?
No, well, it's future possibilities, because I've seen some folks using, you know, say spreadsheet type data in other applications, like say in SharePoint, doing lists in SharePoint, and then after that, hooking that up to Power BI to be able to leverage a lot of their visualizations. So I was just kind of wondering if there's something comparable that we could do in here with a little, you know, little livelier dashboard functionality than that we may have in QualiWare. So yeah, I'm just curious.
If you combine what Kirill showed with what I'm showing now, you can create a spreadsheet in QualiWare and maybe put it in Power BI in QualiWare.
Yeah.
So stay tuned, Derek. We will keep you informed as we continue to explore. Maybe we can do some testing with you together. Hey.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. Thanks, Viorel. Any other questions for Viorel? Okay, great. Thank you very much. I'm going to go back to my slide, which is not Jerry. It's going to be Kevin, and ask Kevin if you would like to.
Yeah, I'm just pulling it up.
Take over for a moment. Great, thank you very much.
Actually, can you go to the next slide first of all?
I can. Here we are. Go ahead.
Okay, so I mean, a lot of people that are in this meeting are aware that we've been building out this compliance management, you know, and governance accelerator, you know, focusing on integrating, you know, governance, risk, compliance, quality, you know, management in a QualiWare based solution. and we've made some very significant process there, or progress rather, and essentially looking at it from a pure compliance point of view, or an ISO compliance point of view, around occupational health and safety, information system security, those types of things. So we're looking to replace all those databases, spreadsheets, and documents with a digital tool. Go to the next slide. Today, I'm going to actually show, having a hard time, Cecile? Wow. I want to cover a few things that we've been working around with respect to document control, change requests, continual improvement, and audits and review of information. So I'll take over and share my screen now. So some things that you may find interesting or useful in your own environments. We actually have created 2 different tiles here. They used to be one. It used to be our home screen, but we've actually separated content that refers to me specifically, or actions that I might do specifically, from in quality and quality speak. This is my quality manual, right? My policy, objective, scope. This is my scope of business that I'm handling within my system, as opposed to specific items, action items that I might be dealing with. I want to show you some work we've been doing on different kinds of process frameworks, and we're actually using an Archimate model here to act as the upper layer of our process framework within our organization, and drilling down to lower levels, where we're actually dealing with specific processes and color coding based on when those, the current state of those things, versus things that are to be done in the future. So, for example, the red here is something that's planned for the future. The yellow ochre is things that are currently being defined, and the other color are things that are approved. In our I'll actually go to our HR models here. And in terms of actually our internal offboarding model, we're actually using our comments here to drive different change requests. So we're using the commenting. We pulled that stuff out so that it was easy to see without extra clicking around to see different things that we needed access to quickly. Documents, specific offboarding checklist. It's actually stored within QualiWare, so that people have access to the controlled document. So we're using our own tool to drive changes within our own organization, and whether we're generating particular change requests, off of a particular comment or change. We've actually been going through the cycle here with our comments through 3 different changes while this was still in development. It's currently been approved and now links through to all kinds of other activities. So this is all part of the Compliance Management Accelerator, as we've been building it, and available to all the departments. One of the things that we have been focusing on a lot as well is building out various scorecards, different kinds of objectives, and using the capabilities of the tool based on where we need to be. So, exceeding some, but, using the trending indicator to show us where we're going. But all of these, again, all of these capabilities are available in the tool, but our Compliance Management Accelerator, as I said before, is something that is available to everybody in the Government of Canada. We have been also building out different kinds of lists so that we're aware of what processes, what's currently waiting for, different stages of approval. And I'm up to date. One thing that's of particular interest we found in a couple of departments that we're talking with is how we're dealing with 17025. So I'm actually going to talk, and that's the information security standard that the government, Treasury Board again is trying to focus on existing external standards. We've actually built out a series of models, and this is the one we use for 9001, which we're compliant with. And all of these different components have, the detailed descriptions in them of what forms part of that standard and different things that are linked to it. The compliance analysis pivot table here, is showing how we're compliant with these different parts of the standard. What parts of our management system, our policies, our processes are helping us be compliant, and also where we are in terms of audit and review on those things. So all of the processes that we use to produce these things are part of our management system. Here's the target processes that were being reviewed, target regulations. Here's the things we found that were a problem, and different conclusions for fixing those things. And we are in the process, we've put 17025 into this tool. So these are the different components in terms of the information security standard. And, what that means in terms of your need to be compliant. So we can, without taking the whole Compliance Management Accelerator, we can actually make this model or any of the other models that we currently have in the system available to a department that wants that export file. So if you're, looking at information system security, control of records, and you want an easy way to map back to the processes that you have in place, we will give you this landscape model. So that, when you do your compliance analysis, and we're currently not 17025 compliant, so we don't show any of those complying objects or the audit data associated with that. So two different ways, either through the complete compliance management system or specifically through the different views that we've built out for different standards. 45001. Let's go to the diagram. Is all about occupational health and safety. And again, the government is focusing on the ISO standards to be as rather than creating their own standards, using existing public standards for their own internal compliance. So we have these different models built out that we have available to your client user community. So occupational health and safety, security, quality and compliance, and 14,001. I cannot recall what that one is. Environmental standards, sorry. So these, we will give you an export of these models if you request. So wanted to make you aware of some further developments that we have in this space. And our quality and compliance accelerator here, all of this this information will be uploaded into our trial repository as well. So we're building out a series of different dashboards to make it easy for people to see when different processes or different are coming due and up for review. Some of this Kevin Wilson has done in his compendium, which D&D is using for some process management and for training, but we focused it basically on compliance management and process review. Any questions? Guess not. Actually, the other thing that we've really focused on is continual improvement and ideation, idea management, and associated with business transformation. So we're really trying to focus on people's improvement ideas and how they generate change within our organization. And I don't know if I have it on the dashboard, Kirill, with all of the ideas that you've submitted, but
organizational improvement ideas.
Yeah.
They may have all been actioned because Jerry is so efficient. But,
that's true. So a lot of these, you can see the different changes suggested within our organization that we've addressed. So again, using the governance workflow to drive change within our own organization. Actually, and you can see over here, creator name. Kirill actually won an award in the company for all of the ideas, all the work he's generated for everyone else.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I had a choice, Kevin. I had a choice to work or come up with ideas. So I chose in the second.
Anyhow. Okay, that's
Very
all I
good
have on this topic.
Great. Okay, thank you, Kevin. Appreciate that. As we are getting ready to wrap up the meeting, I believe my colleague Kirill would like to mention something to you all. So Kirill.
Certainly, yeah. Just a reminder that the registration for the trial repository is open, and to you as a reminder, we've launched a trial repository for you guys to try out QualiWare for 30 days. Again, existing or new customers both can apply. We'll be launching some of the trials in the upcoming 2 weeks. So I'm gonna drop the link in the chat, and for whoever wants to, for whoever wants to apply for the trial, you guys could just drop in your first, last name, and email, and we'll get back to you as far as the time and date when we can set up those 2 logins for your group and get you started. Yeah, so
we've already had one customer inquiring about potentially using this as a internal training, follow-up from training that they do, either to have taken through us or through training that they've done internally. So as a means of, I guess, continuing that that knowledge journey that some of their people have begun.
Great idea.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kirill. Okay, we have come to the end of the meeting. Any questions, comments from anybody? I will put out my annual pitch to everybody about the QualiWare user group meeting, that it's our meeting, which means all of the people that participate, it's your meeting too. So if you have ideas of things that you would like to hear more about, specific discussion forums potentially that you'd be interested in, please feel free to reach out to me or Kevin or Kirill with your ideas. It would be very much appreciated so that we can put together meaningful agendas for you. We appreciate you taking an hour and a half to 2 hours out of your busy work weeks to join us. So, you know, we want to make the meetings and the content worthwhile to you for taking that time. So if you would please do that, I would be ever so grateful. Thank you everybody for joining us. The next QualiWare user group meeting is going to be the last Monday of February, which I believe is exactly 4 weeks from now because of February being a short month. It will be Monday, February 27th. So stay tuned for more information about that. If you have any questions, need any help with anything, just feel like chatting, you can always reach out to myself, Kevin, Kirill. Here's our contact information here. And we look forward to seeing you in another few weeks. So thanks very much for your time, everybody.